All right, so we're all about getting to the bottom of things, right? Today we're taking a deep dive into something that affects every single one of us, sleep. Why is it so important? Why do so many of us struggle with it? And are there things we can actually do to get better sleep?
Absolutely.
And I got to say, in preparing for this deep dive, some of the stuff I read about how much sleep we actually need was pretty surprising.
Yeah, it's interesting because sleep is not like a one size fits all kind of deal. It changes throughout our lives, and the amount we need at different ages, it's well, it can be pretty eye-opening. Like, did you know that infants need a whopping 12 to 15 hours of sleep?
Whoa, 12 to 15 hours. I mean, that's more than half the day.
Right.
I thought I was the one who needed a lot of sleep.
And then you have teenagers, they actually need more sleep than adults do. They need around 8 to 10 hours.
Seriously,
Yeah.
teenagers need more sleep than me. Okay, well, that explains a lot about those teenage years. And also, it kind of makes you think about why our school schedules don't really reflect that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Because it is a like super crucial stage of development when sleep is so vital for things like learning and growth and um, emotional regulation, even. But it's not just about how many hours of sleep we're getting. As we age, the quality of our sleep changes too.
Interesting.
Like older adults might get the recommended 7 to 8 hours, but they often experience much lighter sleep. It's not that deep, restorative, like, wake up feeling amazing kind of sleep.
Okay, yeah, actually, that makes sense. It explains why I don't bounce back from a bad night's sleep the way I used to. I used to be able to pull an all-nighter and be like, okay, the next day, but not anymore.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's talk about this, I don't know what to call it, this phenomenon where you're tired but wired. Like your brain just won't shut off even though your body's totally exhausted. What's going on in our brains when that happens?
Well, there's a lot at play there. I mean, it's pretty complex, but a big one, honestly, a big culprit is stress. When we're stressed out, our bodies release hormones like cortisol, and that basically puts us in a state of high alert, fight or flight mode, making it almost impossible to relax enough to fall asleep. It's kind of like our ancient survival mechanisms are kicking in even when the quote unquote threat is just like a work deadline or a long to-do list.
Ah, yeah, it's like our brains haven't quite caught up to modern life yet.
Yeah. Exact.
It does feel like we're constantly bombarded with information and stimulation these days. Like, no wonder it's hard to shut off sometimes.
I know, right? And then on top of that, there are certain lifestyle choices that can make this whole thing worse.
Yeah.
Like, think about late night screen time. That blue light that's emitted from our phones and our laptops and TVs, it actually suppresses melatonin production. And melatonin is that hormone that helps regulate our sleep-wake cycle.
Yeah.
And of course, there's caffeine. That afternoon latte might feel like just what you need to power through the rest of the day. But the thing is, it can linger in your system for hours and hours. And then later, when you're trying to fall asleep, it's like, nope, not happening.
So some of these tips, like cutting out caffeine completely, they seem kind of drastic. Like, what's a good first step for someone who's really struggling with sleep?
Honestly, awareness is huge. Just start by paying attention to your habits and seeing if you can identify some of the potential, I guess, sleep saboteurs in your own life. Could you maybe swap that afternoon coffee for like a decaf tea or something? Could you create a screen-free hour before bed?
Hmm.
Just to give your brain a chance to kind of like unwind. Even small changes like that can make a really big difference. You'd be surprised.
I like that. Okay, so beyond just avoiding those sleep saboteurs, what are some things we can actively do to improve our sleep?
Oh, there are a ton of natural strategies that can be super effective. One that people often overlook is diet.
Mm.
Like, how sometimes you eat a big pasta dinner and then you just feel super sleepy? Well, that's not just because it's filling. It's because foods with a high glycemic index, like pasta, they can actually mess with your deep sleep cycles later in the night.
Wow, I never knew that. So, like, a big bowl of pasta before bed is actually a bad idea.
It's not ideal. On the flip side, though, foods that are rich in tryptophan, like turkey or nuts, they can actually help you feel sleepy.
Huh. Okay. Got to rethink my late night snack choices then. What about all those relaxation techniques I keep hearing about? Like the deep breathing, the meditation? Does that stuff actually work?
Oh, absolutely. Things like deep breathing exercises, meditation, and even progressive muscle relaxation, they can be total game changers. They all work by calming your nervous system and shifting your body into a more restful state.
Hmm.
And get this, there's even evidence that taking a warm bath before bed can improve sleep quality. Something about that drop in body temperature after you get out of the bath, it signals to your brain that it's time to wind down.
I actually tried that warm bath trick last night, and I have to say, I fell asleep way faster than usual.
Yeah.
It really does work.
I told you.
Amazing. Okay, so I'm kind of embarrassed to admit this, but this next one is where I really struggle. Keeping a consistent sleep schedule.
Yeah, I hear you.
I am the worst at sticking to a regular bedtime. But why is it so important anyway?
Well, it all boils down to your circadian rhythm, your body's internal clock that regulates your sleep-wake cycle. Think of it like your body's natural timekeeper. Light exposure, especially that pesky blue light from screens, it can really throw this clock off, making it harder to fall asleep at night and wake up feeling rested in the morning.
Yeah.
When you stick to consistent bedtimes and wake times, even on the weekends, you're basically reinforcing those natural rhythms. So your body knows when it's time to sleep and when it's time to wake up.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So how do we make this happen? I mean, I need some practical advice here. I need help.
Start with setting realistic bedtimes and wake times that fit your schedule and also take into account how much sleep you actually need. And don't underestimate the power of a relaxing bedtime routine. Maybe it's that warm bath we talked about, or reading a book, or listening to calming music, whatever works for you. The point is to signal to your brain and your body that it's time to start transitioning to sleep mode.
All right, I am taking notes.
Yeah.
Seriously, this has been so insightful. I feel like we've really gotten beyond the basic sleep advice and discovered some really fascinating things about sleep.
It's cool, right?
Yeah, it is.
We often think of sleep as this passive thing that just kind of happens to us, but there's actually a lot we can do to influence how well we sleep and how long we sleep for.
Absolutely. So to wrap things up, I have a question for you, dear listener. Knowing what we know now, what's one small change you're willing to try to improve your sleep? Maybe it's dimming the lights an hour before bed. Maybe it's trying one of those relaxation techniques we talked about. Or maybe it's just being more mindful of the connection between what you eat and how well you sleep.
That's a good one.
Because every little step counts, right? Keep exploring this fascinating topic. And hey, sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams.